if I could share with you a system whereby we could increase our ability to learn 500% plus, learn and most importantly remember, drop the learning into long-term memory, 500% plus in a matter of minutes, would this be a valuable learning for all of you?
Sure.
Great. So I'd like to ask you to get your passport out. This is going to be quick familiarization with the passport 101. And if we could all turn the page in the passport to 15, open it right up to 15. There is an accelerated learning technology checklist there at the top of page 15 that I'm going to walk you through quickly as a takeaway. And you might want to take some notes. This system of optimal learning is the way in which we conduct this program. And it starts with the number one factor in learning. If all of us are leaders, all of us are teachers, what do you think is the number one most important factor in optimal learning, memory, retention, being present in the room? What do you think it is? And there's a hint there.
Transferring.
Say again?
Transferring.
Transferring. Transferring?
What we know to somebody else.
Transferring what we know to somebody else. Very elegant. Very elegant. But that's not what the T stands for. That's a great submission, okay? This is the optimal factor. If this is out, we cannot learn. Now, some of you are looking and you're thinking, team. This supports optimal teamwork, and again, it supports optimal transference of knowledge, absolutely. But I want to back us up into the beginning of the river, the upstream. If this one key is not in place, it doesn't matter how good the speaker is. It doesn't matter how great the curriculum is, how wonderful the material is. If we don't have this place on target, it's going to be really tough to support optimal learning.
Time.
Time, that's a part of it, but this is an even bigger T. Yes?
Thinking.
Thinking. Great guess. And this supports optimal thinking. Trust. If trust isn't on the table, we know we can't even start the motor, right? So we're going to assume that trust is on the table. And we were here to do fine thinking, right? Any other guesses?
Theme.
Say again?
Theme.
Theme? Interesting thought. Interesting thought. On one level, it is about the theme, but it's a different way of looking at the theme. So let me give it to you. This is the number one factor, and they don't teach us at business school. Okay, Harvard's not teaching this. It's the temperature of the learning environment, the temperature of the room. Number one, temperature of the room. Guess what? For every 2 degrees you go above or below the optimal learning temperature, you lose 25% of your ability to be present, be in the moment, and learn optimally. So what do you think the optimal learning temperature is?
71 degrees.
Well, you see it right there. There's a little bit of a hint, right? So optimally, it's 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Ideally, you want to be a degree or so below, but for when you start doing that plus or minus 2 degrees, so you start going down, you're at 69, you're at 69, you're at 68, 67, or you're going up into the mid-70s, it's gone. It doesn't matter again how good the speaker is in the material. So if this is the case, and variation is the villain of quality, what are we keeping our eye on? The room temperature. Right now it's 69.4 degrees in the room. So we want to do a temperature check as well, not just rely on technology. How many people in this room are a little cold? Raise your hand if you're a little chilly. Okay? Looks like about 10%, maybe 12%. How many people are a little hot? No one. How many people are about just right? All right, so the just righters are going to win for now. And if the chilly people stay chilly, we'll see about getting some blankets or something. Okay?
Hey, could you say that one more time? What happens if the temperature is colder than 72?
For every 2 degrees you fall out of the range, you lose about 25% of your ability to be present and to learn optimally. It's better to be a degree or two cooler. We all know the story when it gets too warm, right? Okay, so has anyone ever heard about children who can't sit still in school? Any stories about that? What do we say to these little ones? Hey, little ones, can you spell Ritalin? Right? And many times that's not the cause. The cause is the learning environment is too hot. And they tend to run hot anyway. Yes?
That seems so random. I know I'm sure they've done scientific tests on this and things like that.
Yes.
So don't body type and other things have major influence on what's comfortable over your learning best?
On average, on the vast majority of people, as long as you keep it in that range of 71, 72 degrees, on average, the vast majority are going to be able to be comfortable. Absolutely, there's always variation. But ideally, you want to hover there. What's number 2? Temperature is number 1, ladies and gentlemen. What's number 2? We just took one. Brakes. It turns out that brakes are the number 2 optimal factor in learning. Now let's take a second, if I can. How much more water can you put into a full bottle? It's not a trick question. Answer, none. Guess what happens to your brain after the optimal amount of time you can go without a break, which is 50 minutes, by the way. 50 minutes is the maximum amount of time that people can pay attention without taking a break, because the brain gets full, and to put anything more is waste. And we're here to optimize learning and to set the stage for super learning. So we're going to be watching the clock. And even if we don't take the full 7-minute break, we're going to take a stretch break. We're going to be honoring the fact that the brain needs a quick reset. Number 3 is you're hearing it at the break, and it's on very, very gently in the background now, but music. And not just any music. The saying is you want to go for Baroque. Baroque music playing gently in the background turns on the inner tape recorder in the brain, so that while you're surfing the web, while you're listening to a speaker, while you're reading, with gentle Baroque music, not opera, because if it's all so me and you're trying to understand what the person's saying in another language, it's got to be just the music. That playing in the background turns on the inner tape recorder. Now, what am I using a lot of up here on this chart? You better believe it. Color. Color is not just for kids. Use color in your note-taking, in your presentations. Color is critical in stimulating the right brain, stimulating our whole brain capabilities. And last but not least, movement. Movement is not, the whole concept of learning is that learning is not just from the chin up. We've got to get our body into the picture. So when we come back from each break, we're going to do a movement. We're going to do a stretch of some sort or another to get our body and keep our body in the game. Now, these 5 are the recipe. This is the formula for optimal learning. And when they're brought together, studies show 500% plus increase in our ability to learn and, most importantly, remember long term. How many people in this room have children? So this is not, EPLT is not just about the practice. It's not just about the work. It's also, of course, about the children. And in that spirit, I want to share one more principle, and then we're going to reset and welcome Chris. Any questions on this? Optimal learning. Peter Senge, head of MIT's Learning Center, says that learning is the only strategic advantage any of us have. Learning the right stuff, putting it into practice, staying with it, is the only advantage any of us have in life. And this is meant to be a framework. Notice that none of this is about the content. It's not about what's on the agenda. It's not about the curriculum. It's about the context and the room, the learning environment. If we set that right, everything that happens within this environment will be optimized. Again, with the understanding why we're here. Because the why is the foundation. We need to have a why. We need to have that motivation. Obviously, all of you do, but this is meant to set the stage.